go to the Brittle room. And we'll be coming back in here, y'all.
So you don't homes.
So I can take pictures in this room too?
Please watch this hook.
I keep hitting my camera.
Everything's built real sturdy around here like back in the day.
Yep.
And I see they needed that, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. You all please watch that hook. But first I want to tell you, this is the Brittle room. But you all, I'm proud of this. We run on a needed basis because of quality and freshness, and I'm proud of that. So I can see they needed something this morning, which he'll be back to do cleaning. So, but this is our Brittle room. We have 5 different types of brittle. One of them's a peanut, of course, and the other 4 are bourbon. Bourbon country, country, you all. And on this marble table is where they make the brittle. What he does is, for the brittle only, he lays down this non-stick copper sheeting, takes that silver square frame, lays it right on top, and he pours that brittle mixture right down in it. Then he puts what's called a grid on top of it. Now the grid does line it up like in little squares. Now it doesn't cut it at the time, but once it cures up and hardens up, he'll remove that grid, and once it's cured enough, he'll break it off in perfect little squares. And I guess you all got to see it out on the table.
Yes.
All different unique tastes,
Yes.
all good stuff. And you all, this is one of the cooling tables. When they use it, it has the cold water which circulates underneath, which keeps the top cold. They do several other candies on this table because they cure up quicker. For instance, like your fudge. I'm not saying this because I work here. That's the best fudge I've ever put in my mouth. But I'm a peanut butter fan. Yeah, I'm a peanut butter fan. But you all, that bourbon's good too. We got bourbon fudge too. Yeah. But you all, just to give you an example, what they put on this table. You all, they use that hook, and there's a picture of him over here, to make the Kentucky Cool Cream Candy. Yeah. And you all, when I first saw that hook, I said, taffy hook, and they said, no. But you all, similar to the same process as taffy, how you make taffy, but it doesn't taste a thing like taffy. It's creamy, not chewy, and it'll melt in your mouth. I'm not kidding you. And you all, the actual color is white, but they cover some of it in chocolate to give you a variety. Now he will work it on that hook for quite a while. Then he puts it on this piece back here. See the arms? So they needed that this morning, see? So they had to make some. That was needed. Well, he'll work it back there for quite a while. When he finishes with it, he's going to run it through here. This cuts it in individual pieces. Then they take and wrap each individual piece in a type of wax paper. That is to keep it moist. They don't want it drying out. But you all, I'm not kidding you, if you grabbed a piece of it, you think, well, that's hard, feels hard to the touch. You bite in that thing and it'll melt in your mouth. And you all, beyond sweet. This stuff's beyond sweet. It reminds me of an after dinner meal I had a long time ago. Yes.
Right.
But it's really good stuff. Yeah. And you all, if you all will follow me into the kitchen. For instance, this old press right here used to print the ladies' tin cans like this one that they held their candy in at that time. Yeah. And you all, I love this memorabilia. We've got old plastic brushes.
Ribbon candy maker.
I love that stuff. But you all, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history, point out a few things, and then we'll go get a sample. It was 2 ladies. Their names are Rebecca and Ruth. They were the best of friends, you all, best of friends. And they both were substitute school teachers. But their hobby was making that chocolate candy. And when I tell you that they loved working themselves to death, and loved every minute of it with a passion, working themselves to death on that chocolate candy. I mean that. They truly did. Everybody loved the ladies' candies, you all. Well, them 2 up and got together and decided they were going to quit their jobs, become full-time chocolatiers. They're going to sell it full-time, and their minds are made up. You all, these are independent, strong-willed women we're talking about here. Because this is just against everything. Back in the day, what was expected of a woman was to stay home, take care of that family and that home, and that was that. About the only job you could get was like medical. You could only teach up to the time you got married, and then you could no longer teach. So see, actually women stayed home, took care of the family and home. Well, these two are selling it, and their minds are made up. In 1919, you all, they get their first so-called retail store. It's in the new Frankfort Capitol Hotel. The old one burned down during Prohibition, selling out in the men's bar room. I kid you not, yeah. And I know why you let him do it. He's got the doors closed. It's Prohibition. He can't use the bar room anyway, so might as well let the ladies come up and sell their candy out of it, right? Because he's going to make a little extra. And he sure did make a little extra. They loved the candy, okay? So sure enough, that was considered their first retail store in 1919. So they'd load up every day and head up there and sell that right out of that bar room. And you all, I want to tell you real quick, like back in the day, the old Capitol Hotel and the new one, big time hot spots of Frankfort. So, oh yeah, hot spots, you know. So the ladies carried on and done this for quite a while, okay? Well, this is Miss Ruth, and somebody did a great job on that picture. Miss Ruth married her husband Charles Boo in 1924. In 1927, she gave birth to their son John, which is down at the end of the case. Now here's the sad part. 8 months after she gave birth to their son John, she lost her husband Charles. World War I injuries. And you all, he was young. He was like 31 or 32. Yeah, like young. And so now you've got a single mama, co-owner and co-founder, but she raised a couple nieces also. But the thing is it's not heard of anyway. So them ladies keep right on going on. You know, it is what it is. They're going to sell that candy and that's that. So they keep right on rolling on. Here comes 1929, you all. Rebecca's getting married. She's getting out of the candy business. So in 1929, Rebecca sells her half of the business to Miss Ruth. Now Miss Ruth isn't only a single mama, but she's running it all by herself. You all, they missed each other something terrible. They stayed in touch as much as possible. The name speaks for itself. They started together. Miss Ruth would have never changed a thing. You will always be and remain Rebecca Ruth Candies. Always. And you know, don't quote me at this, I don't know exactly. She loved the candy, but sometimes back in the day, husbands did not want their wives working, okay? So, I mean, but I'm not for sure about that, so don't quote me at that. I'm just kind of thinking, you know, well, you know, she loved it so much, but. So sure enough, Miss Ruth keeps going, okay? Well, right around somewhere near 1930, during that era, Miss Ruth's experimenting, and you all, she always had to have the factory inside the home because she loved experimenting, taking her time on her candy, okay? Well, she comes up with what she calls the Mint Kentucky Kernel. Oh, a big hit back then, went over great, and still is. No alcohol, but really good. It's got the minty creamy center, and it's got the pecan underneath the chocolate on top. Yeah. So really big hit, still is. So she come out with that about then. Now you all, let's just say Prohibition's done gone over with, okay? Miss Ruth is happy as she can be. She's got her nice little cute little retail store. And of course we know he's a happy camper because he's selling his liquor out of his bar room now. So everybody's happy, okay? Here comes 1933 and Miss Ruth's home caught fire. It was considered a factory fire too, because she always had to have that factory inside the home. You all, they lost everything they had except Edna's table back there. It made it through 2 fires. I know it's marble, but it doesn't even have a yellow mark on it, Snoopy. But you all, Miss Ruth looked at that table and said, if it can make it through 2, I can surely make it through 1. Now I want to tell you real quick about these 2 ladies when they were together. They helped out so many people. They were givers, okay? They'd never ask you for anything. That's just how they're built. But they'd sure give you the shirt off their back, do anything they could for you, okay? Okay, Miss Ruth's got some money, but she doesn't got enough. She needs $50. So she's going to go down to her bank and ask for a $50 loan. In 1933, that's a lot of money. But you all, they were doing that candy before they got the first retail store, okay? But you got to remember, people don't like it, okay? She gets down to the bank. No husband. Well, Lord, she's ready for that one. That stems way back before 1900s. And then he goes just like this. Wouldn't know how to spend this kind of money. Okay? So she says, okay, and she leaves there. You all, this woman has never had any free time on her hands whatsoever. Seriously. She worked 24/7, but enjoyed it with a passion. I've never found nothing like that for myself. But yeah, enjoyed every minute of it with a passion. So sure enough, she didn't know what to do with herself. There's no telling how long she stood out there wondering what to do with that free time. And it hits her. I'm going to go up and visit my friends where my first retail store was, up the new Frankfort Hotel. And just kind of socialize and visit with everybody and see how everybody's doing. So she heads up there and she's talking to everybody. Runs into this housekeeper. I'm not lying to you. This is the housekeeper's name, and this is what her parents named her. Fanny Rump. And I said, no. Yes. And you all look it up. Fanny was a popular name back in the day. But why on earth would you give her the first name Fanny to go with the last name Rump? Because she never married. That was her last name, Fanny Rump. I bet died. And but sure enough, this is a housekeeper I'm getting at. Do you know, she tells Miss Ruth, I'm going to lend you that money in 1933, a housekeeper, and you're going to take it, and you just pay me back when you can? Well, Miss Ruth took her up on it. You all, she's got exactly $50 to the penny. It's her whole life savings. How on earth she was able to save it, I will never know. I can't save nothing now, so I have not a clue. She's good. You all, she tells Miss Ruth, you just pay me back when you can. You all, Miss Ruth had her paid back within 2 months with interest to boot. Then Miss Ruth took herself on back over to the bank, removed her money out of the bank, how you like me now, and started banking elsewhere. And still the same place, but they've changed names since through the errors, you know. Yeah. But sure enough, yeah, and I love that. I love that. The part that, this is the part I really love. At the time he was making that second remark, he didn't realize that he was losing a good client. Why, she ends up becoming famous. What do you know? See there? Now, you all, it's 1936. It's Frankfort's 150th bicentennial anniversary. And you all, that fire didn't stop Miss Ruth. She's got to have that factory inside the home. She's got to be able to experiment and take her time with her candy. So she loads up, heads up to the anniversary, and I know she's selling that candy right and left. A gentleman and his wife make it a point to let her know the two best things they've had today is a piece of her candy and a shot of bourbon. The wheels are turning, y'all. She probably wanted to make a beeline home, okay? Because anything she'd hear or think of, she's got to get on it, okay, and start experimenting. She gets home, starts experimenting, perfected the original Bourbon Ball in 1938. Took her 2 years, patent her baby. She got the very first original Bourbon Ball, yes indeed. It literally made her famous, put this place on the map. The woman met stars and everything. Oh yeah, met all kinds of stars. They loved the Bourbon Balls, and she got the very first one. And met them stars and everything. Yeah, it's really amazing. You know, for somebody in Frankfort, you know, yeah. Now, you all, here comes World War II. Sugar was rationed, metal was rationed. And I can hear Miss Ruth right now. Well, I'm done till after the war is over with. Not enough sugar, okay? She thinks, okay, I'm done, that's it. Not enough sugar, it'll have to be after the war, and then I can start back up again, right? She has no idea what's about to happen. But this woman has no affiliation with Miss Ruth. I just want to show you a sugar ration. This white arrowhead that she is holding is a sugar ration, supposedly enough for a whole family daily. Please, you all. She has no idea what's about to happen. Do you know that the whole community got together and brought their sugar rations to Miss Ruth so she could keep making her candy? You all, they went without sugar. They loved the candy, but you all, it speaks volumes about the person. They'd have done the same thing if Rebecca had still been with her too. Oh yeah, it speaks volumes. And you also, she was able to make her candy slower, but she was able to make it. And look here, she printed these on that old press over there. Big candy, you all. Well, they kept taking these too, and she didn't even have enough to pack her candy over to her retail store, you all. So when everyone got done with their coffee tins, they slid them on down to Miss Ruth. She washed them out, and she had plenty to pack her candy in. Yeah, because see, they're each individually wrapped. And she went so far as to stick a funny World War II coffee can insert in all her cans, because she wanted to. Yeah, a little funny World War II. Yeah. It's on that V on the door over there, but it's funny. But sure enough, she was able to make it, but slower. But at least she was able to make it. Now, you all, it's 1964. Miss Ruth's gotten a lot older. She can't keep going on much longer, okay? And she's on the phone with her son, John. Well, John's been through World War II. John graduated from UK with an accounting degree. And John works for DuPont up in New York as one of their accountants. Don't you know he stops everything he's doing, comes home to help Mom, keeps it in the family. You all, Miss Ruth passed away in 1973, but I don't have to ask her to look this one up. I know that woman worked to the last second she could possibly work to. John ran it from 1964 to 1997 when he sold it to his son, Charles Boone, named after the grandfather, who runs it today. Him and his whole family work here. Still in the same family, very unique. And making that candy is in the blood. I am here to tell you, it's in the blood. We get to sample it. It's in the blood, yeah. He has seasonal stuff. And his kids, yeah. Good stuff. Oh, yeah, it's in the blood. I'm not kidding. It's really neat. And so the grandson, but John stayed beside his son until 2011, and John passed away at an old age in February of 2012. And you all, this isn't on the script, but I've got to tell you this because I think it's neat. Miss Ruth came to this house in 1960, okay? The grandson enlarged it all, right? But in 1960, this used to be where you walked in to get the candy. They would be hanging in lines plumb down the street to get in here, okay? The grandson enlarged it. The whole family, from Miss Ruth from 1960 all the way down to the grandson and his family that run it and work here today, have all lived and worked right out of this house. Isn't that neat? I think it's so neat, but that's not in the script, but I love it. I think it's neat. Yeah.
So they live here?
Oh, no, it's offices now, but they all lived here and worked right out of here. Oh,
okay.
Yes. And I think it's neat.
Yeah.
You know, but it's offices now. Of course, nobody lives in it now.
Yeah.
But the grandson enlarged it, see, because they'd be strung out down the street trying to get in here. This was where it all was right here. Yeah, and he done all this enlarging and all that. Yeah. And you all, the registers only went up as high as $9.99 back in the day. So I tell everybody, if you had $9.99, you was rich. You know, really? Because look here, 13 cents a dozen for the chocolate bunnies, and good-sized bunnies. I'm like, where's that at? Yeah. But you all, what I want to show you is all the chocolate molds, okay? The ladies had to manually crank. This is an extruder, like I showed you in back. Manually crank. Now this stems back to the Aztecs. This is how they grinded their cocoa beans. Now, the ladies had bean grinders, but when the ladies first started, there was no such thing as chocolate or cocoa powder. They received cocoa beans, they're brought over by ship, and right in this window, sugar cane. Did it by scratch and loved every minute of it with a passion. I have never found anything like that. Yeah. And candy's hard. I gave it a whirl. I do cakes at family functions. I do cake. And cupcakes, you know. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. Candy's hard because it's stressful. You know, I found it stressful. But my older sister and my mom do candy, so they don't find it as stressful.
Those are
as I do.
huge.
But it's hard. And back then,
So
can
those
you
are hard.
imagine?
I can't.
I mean, I
really
really
candy.
cannot.
I can't get the temperature right.
No. I gave it a whirl, and it's not for me. I do
No.
cakes and cupcakes and stuff at family functions. And you all look here. They used to take them hooks, the first word ice box. They used to deliver blocks of ice to this refrigerator, and that's where we heard the first name, ice box mentioned. Yeah. 300 pounds. You ought to hear about their thing before they get back here and realize, you know, the error and everything that we do here. It's pretty neat. Really neat. Because it just wasn't heard of in women back then, you know, just was not heard of. And they went, Miss Ruth kept right on going on, and then she went on with her. And this was all, Miss Ruth used all this stuff. I've seen this one in action, but I've never seen the gas yet. It's cute.
It's an original Bourbon Ball. What do you think?
Good.
That's pretty good.